sana zile board za juu za
pulling the bow from that side. You see now they have stopped. I think
You're right.
this is temporary.
How did you go the last one?
Let me check. Correct. That should be fine. So you go to one. We'll see what the price is selling. Last time you
want to eat
Yeah. Yeah, 14.
Like a wave.
Yeah,
18 kama kuna kati. 18.
I might do that like that. Like in Sleeping Warrior. Honestly speaking, when we were in the mine. No, I mean, foot down, wherever I will go. I mean, that's what I said, whatever. So
22. 22.
I am Nikhil Sachania, rally driver for KCB Rally Team. We've been together with KCB for 3 years. This is the third year that KCB is sponsoring us. Obviously, their sponsorship means a lot to us. We've got a good relationship with them for the last 2 years, and hopefully the third year speaks for itself. We put in some good results, and make them proud. As we're proud to fly their flag as well.
how are you?
मैं आई थोड़ा सा क्लीन करना हो तो काम हो तो हेल्प करा
Nikhil, thanks a lot for doing this for me. Just thought if you could brief through your rally car, this Mitsubishi rally car that I've been showing on the video, and also the rally itself, and maybe how this car compared to your previous Fiat Abarth that you had before it.
So currently I drive a Evo 10 rally car. It's currently going under prep. We just had dropped the gearbox yesterday. We had some issues. We got the parts, we're putting the gearbox back up today, and we plan on doing some testing today or tomorrow or the day after. Apart from that, it's a Group N rally car, a production vehicle. So there's a criteria there. It needs to have, the manufacturer should have produced at least a minimum of 5,000 cars. So it's similar to your everyday car, but then obviously it has modifications in terms of safety, and then it's a gravel spec, so there's a lot of things that are different from your daily street car that you get.
Is this in terms of suspension, brakes, or
Yeah,
engine?
in terms of suspension, brakes, the engine, there's a lot of restrictions that we have to put in the engine to make sure it's a sort of level playing field. Obviously the fuel tank, you've seen the fuel tank, you've seen the fire suppression, so all that kind of stuff boils down to our safety, and obviously try and keep a level playing field in terms of regulations and fair play.
Ito na ba sa video sa video na mo video ko ba sa video ko ba yung sa video fix sa video ko ba yung fix
Let's remove this and
previous to this, I'm aware that you had a Fiat Bath. How does this car compare in terms of handling gravel, engine performance, power, durability as well, reliability? Is this a lot different to that car?
Yeah, the two cars, the Abarth that I used to drive is categorized under Super 2000, S2000. This is obviously, as I mentioned, is a Group N. The two cars have very different, they're very different in that sense, where the engine for the Punto is a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine.
Oh,
So
non-turbo.
yeah, non-turbo.
Right.
Yeah, so you're revving at really high RPM. It's got a sequential gearbox. That car is basically from the factory a race car. It's not a car. So it's called a Punto, but then if you buy like a second-hand Punto or an off-cut Punto, nothing's going to fit onto that.
Right.
Even the moldings won't fit.
Okay.
But then, yeah, in terms of expense, durability, and for our road conditions, it wasn't the best car that we could have, because that was mainly made for an intercontinental rally championship, which they only came to Kenya, I think, once or twice. But when they were here in Kenya, they had special hubs and they had a special homologation for that car, like a snorkel, a bull bar, and all that kind of stuff. So there was only 2 sets ever made for those hubs. So when you open up the catalog for that car, it's never there. When you talk to Abarth, they do have it on their record, but they don't make them anymore. So it was a very
Tricky car to
maintain, very expensive. Bearings, I remember the bearings for the hub were from a Formula 3 car, so it was very expensive to maintain in that sense. Whereas this is a production vehicle, the Mitsubishi, so it's slightly easier to get parts from Japan, easier to get parts from Simbacort or your local dealer of Mitsubishi parts, There are some specific parts which are competitive parts which we get from Rally Art or other competitors here who import them. Other than that, it's basically a stock. I wouldn't say stock, but more or less a production vehicle, as I mentioned, which is easier to maintain.
Lastly, I'd just like to ask you, in terms of this rally coming up, what's the distance you have to cover, how much parts do you have to keep aside, and how many weeks or months of preparation have you had to do for this?
Yeah, well, okay, in terms of preparation, I can start with that. Preparation, obviously, it started at the start of the year, which was towards the end of January, where we start to strip the car open, check for any cracks on particular parts, engine manifold, turbos, check the turbo, check the diffs. So we open up the diffs, we open up the center diff, we open up the gearbox. Obviously, engine has been overhauled. It's a full strip down of the car. It's literally a bare shell.
Right.
In terms of so that's your preparation side. So it starts about 3. You need about 2 months, to be fair,
Wow.
to make sure that you're satisfied with your car and stuff.
And I've noticed that right now you have about 3 or 4 staff working on your vehicle right now. Are they employed by you full time to look after this vehicle, or do you just call them in on a contract basis?
No, so they're with me full time.
Right.
Obviously, we've got our family business here, so they work part-time work on the rally car. Let's say that.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, when it comes time for rally, then they're full time on the rally car, and when not, then they're working on our machines and our trucks that we have here.
For a bit of context, Nikhil works for a family construction business, so from what I gather, they work on the construction side, and then on the weekend they come into work into the rally car. Nikhil, I also noticed that you have this spare parts evolution as well. This is presumably a road car that you bought as a shell, and you're going to use this for parts as well. How useful has this off-cut been? Has it lowered your cost of doing this rally, or does it not make a difference?
I found a good deal.
Yeah.
I needed a few specific parts, but it worked out to be a bit cheaper to buy the entire car.
Right.
Obviously, it doesn't have an engine, doesn't have a gearbox.
Yeah.
But there's the entire rear assembly is there. There are a few parts from the front that we can use.
Yes.
It doesn't really lower the cost, but it does help generally, because it's a second-hand car. Some parts obviously have been damaged. It's an accident vehicle, so some parts have been damaged. So we do have to check them thoroughly to make sure that they're actually usable. But I know for a fact that the rear assembly is pretty okay.
Yeah.
The front left is also okay. So it does help lower the costs.
Yes.
You know, a lot of the stuff is genuine, like the bolts and stuff are all genuine parts, which, you know, that kind of quality you don't get buying it from the shops and stuff. So it's nice to have a donor car now. You know, it's easier for the boys to work on something, you know, even if they need to make a slight reference here or there, that, oh, this car has a fuel box like this, you know, it's a nice way to reference between our car and this car.
Awesome. Nikhil, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck with your upcoming rally. Cheers.
What do you want? Nice. That's what I told him. He's right. Nice. It's not even switching on.
You need helping hand for cleaning. Then I we have to
I have to tell you.
Nanti cek tupiga apa ini langsung. Ini tapi tak pandai. Cek ni.
Even last year I did
All of them, yeah.
and then at that driver's briefing they just put me in front in case that guy has any questions. This is the guy.
And he asked us anything, Nikhil. Can you tell us what you answered?